part of it too is how did you come about that money, whether it's old or new money. There's sometimes entitlement. You look at sports figures who come from, a lot of times will come from modest money. I'm not saying that a lot of them are coming from poor families, although a lot of them are. A lot of them work really hard to get themselves these sports scholarships and onto NBA and NFL and whatnot contracts. But I always am struck by, and I really, for the life of me, can't remember who it is right now. I want to say it was Kobe Bryant, but I could be wrong on that. It could be, so please if I'm wrong there. But it was when, I'm going to say Kobe Bryant because I can't think of the proper name anyway. When he was drafted out of college into the NBA, straight out of college, or I think it was before he finished college, I think they signed him for like $3 million or something like that for his first season, with some stupid bonus figures on top of it. But he was interviewed. This player, whoever it was interviewed by it was ESPN at the time, and they asked him, you're making all this money now. What do you think it's like? And they're asking about lives of other people, and one of the questions that came up is, well, how much do you think the average guy makes out there? Because he was saying, this money is really nothing to him. It didn't sound like a whole lot. Oh boy. And when they asked him how much you think the average guy makes, his answer was $300,000 a year.
Well, that's almost like that. There's this one commentator on like CNBC, and that was saying, well, of course, middle class, and Romney as well, saying middle class, $250,000. No, that's not.
Yeah, but that was a misquote. But I also want to say that that's not Kobe Bryant, because Kobe Bryant never went to college. He was drafted straight out of high school.
And then I'm sorry, I think it was Kobe Bryant, because, and I was going off with the college thing there, because he was signed to some. He got like a $3 million contract straight out of high school. He bypassed college, and this is where it comes. You're 18 years old. How much do you think the average guy makes? And he said, I don't know, $300,000 a year. And
right.
It was like, how much? And that's just because his father made like $300,000 a year. So he figured he makes $300,000. I'm making $3 million. Everybody must make,
But Reed, don't you remember that?
Yeah, that news pundit on maybe it was Fox News, maybe it was CNBC, but yeah.
He's actually saying $200,000 is near poverty.
Yeah, I saw the video of her saying, it's very near poverty. It's not, rich at all. $250,000 for a family of four. That's almost poverty.
Right, but the Romney probably makes a lot more than that.
Yeah, she definitely. She would feel poor among her friends with $200,000.
Of course.
But the Romney comment, for the record, I watched that whole interview, and what he was saying is where the middle class tax bracket cuts off. That it cuts off at $200,000 to $250,000. He wasn't saying that the average American makes that much money.
Because the average American makes somewhere around $30,000 to $50,000 a year.
I know, but where the bracket is for the tax rate federally is up to $250,000. Right, so that's all he was saying. He wasn't saying that middle class is $200,000 to $250,000. I watched the whole clip. I hate Mitt Romney, right? But when I saw that story, I thought it was kind of fishy, and I watched the clip, and I invite anybody to watch it.
No, I have to agree with Sean here, because I've watched that one too, and that was one of those ones where the left went after him, but it wasn't all that accurate. They did sort of blow it out of proportion. Now, I'm not condoning what Romney said at that time. He was still being condescending about the whole thing being ridiculous because the numbers he was throwing out were stupid. But you're right, Sean. That one I think Sean's right.
All right, so back to the study. What do you guys actually get from this?
I mean, it really. I mean, I know this could be confirmation bias, but like I said before, it really, to me, it confirms what I already thought. That wealth is a measure of success only if you had to succeed to get your wealth. So, like, obviously, people who earn it are, on average, better about how they act than people who didn't earn it, because people who didn't earn it are always trying to prove that they did earn it when everybody knows they didn't.
And also, I actually wanted to mention some of the experiments, because Paul Piff did 5 different experiments, and he found that upper-class individuals were more likely to believe they deserved special treatment. You know, that whole, do you know who I am, that they like to pull, some of them like to pull, and that they feel entitled to, quote, more of everything. They're also more likely to believe that if they were on the Titanic, they would deserve to be on the first lifeboat.
Well, of course, they would be the first class aristocrats, you know? I paid my money. I deserve to be saved first.
I'm important.
And on top of that, they won't even they don't even think that they have a duty to pull their boyfriend out of the ice water.
Good one.
There was enough room on that damn door. Don't fuck with me.
Yeah, I know, right? And of course, the final experiment, because I already had mentioned the thing about the mirror, which was what the 4th experiment was about. The 5th experiment said that exposing upper-class individuals to egalitarian values had actually reduced their narcissism. So I actually covered that as well. So, I mean, I find that these experiments are incredibly fascinating into the kind of the minds of how people with lots of money are. And these studies just keep on coming to show that, hey, you know, wealth actually has some really bad effects on your brain. And it makes sense because the people who are wealthy, when they feel that they're entitled to more and more and more, they're going to keep collecting more and more and more, and they're going to manipulate government in order to get more. So that's kind of the main result of all of this.
And I like these kind of studies because they always find like weird and interesting tests to prove their point. Like I saw another one about environmentalists where it's a study that they were trying to see if they would steal more than than your average person who doesn't really care about the environment, and they proved that they would if they were, because they felt like they were doing so much good in this aspect, so they could be a shithead in the other aspect of their lives. So that's like the wealth thing. They feel like they're making all this money, and they're so good at this part that they can be less compassionate to other people. So like it's just weird. It's weird how our brains work.
Moral of the story: people are kind of fucked up.
Moral of the story: never think that you're doing something awesome because you're actually a prick in like 18 different ways.
Yeah, I remember another study that I think conducted by the same guy that said that a lot of rich people, like BMWs, cut people off more than any other car. Like people who drive BMWs, they're always cutting people off. You know, they're more likely to cheat, they're more likely to steal, which makes no sense in the world because they have got all this money. Why do you need to cheat and steal? But It goes back to that entitlement thing.
Or red cars are more likely to crash because the people who want those who drive flashy cars are the same people who drive like jerks. Like,
you're close there. Not more likely to crash, more likely to speed. Through my time, I've had the pleasure and mispleasure of knowing a number of people within my own circles who are quite wealthy. Or overly wealthy even in some cases. And I just personally, I always found the distinction between those people that I knew in my age who were really wealthy and came from old money were all dicks. And I knew a few people even like beyond my age range in my circles who actually worked their way up from the bootstraps to wealth, and they were some of the nicest people I knew, which even shocked me to some degree with a lot of them. And it's like, how come you're so nice? You know, I do. How come we get along so well? And so that was just a personal observation. I've known a lot of these people myself, and I've been able to make that distinction. Old money, you're an idiot. You know, you worked for it, you worked hard, you appreciate it, and you know what it is, and you recognize that what you have is not what everybody has.
And you got to remember that in a market economy, the way to make money, the way to make yourself rich, is to provide goods and services to one another. So old money never provided those goods and services to anybody because they inherited it or all that. While new money, they had to make their customers happy. So that's why they might be nicer and to people in general.